There's a lot of Avata 360 videos out there as is. I'm sure you already know what this thing can do and the gist of it. I want to talk about things that aren't extremely clear and like a real world application of it outside of just looking at the specs and the general features, what we know it can do. Is this thing applicable for whatever you want to get it for? Although the specs are right here if you want to pause and look at all of these. It is a really cool achievement. I mean, the drone shoots 8K footage in 360 degrees. It has collision sensors. It's really tough. You can bang this thing against the side of a tree. It has lenses that you can swap out, so it's like they intend for you to crash at some point. The sensor improvement is really nice compared to what we had before. So these are 2.9 inch sensors. The preview is super crisp. You can see that what you're getting is like very, very rich. So a noticeable step up from the Avata 2. And by the way, you don't have to film 360 all the time. You can just flip it to being a normal camera, and that camera is better quality than what the Avata 2 had. So because it can flip over back to normal video mode and it just uses one of those cameras, it gives you the original Avata 2 experience, and you also get 360 view to choose where you want to film. All of the drone stuff that I'm doing like for work is using a regular photo video drone with the stabilized gimbal. It's not that I hate FPV, I'm just already busy with clients and stuff with the normal drones. So that's, well, usually what I talk about, and that's the only ones I stick to kinda. So I have a little bit of a bias towards that because I know that it can do 360, but I wanna talk about, is it worth it over a normal drone if you're talking about quality, or is it at least good enough that you can get by if you do need to ever take photos and videos the normal way with this? Short answer, for live events where you need to get close, bike races, action sports, this wins hands down. The major downfall of this drone compared to a regular photo video drone, when you flip to that normal camera where it's just using static view instead of the 360, it doesn't have a 3-axis gimbal. So you kind of have to just really be careful. Like, you've got to be keeping this thing very steady, and the second the wind kind of tips it, the whole thing is going sideways like this. The alternative is you kind of rotate so you're working with the wind, so you can't really, it's just a bobblehead, and you can't really notice that there's too much side to side jitter, because if it's heavy wind or you get a bad gust, the drone is going to be fighting to stay stable. That surprised me right away, because I was like, I could have sworn it wasn't like this the first time I flew it around. That's because it wasn't. When I was in the snow in Canada flying this around, there wasn't a lot of wind. Up to that point, everything was very steady, even on the normal camera, and I was delighted. I was very excited about that. So if you live in an enormous vacuum, this would work great. Otherwise, you know, a little wind and it's gonna look pretty obvious that this is an FPV drone trying to film. I should mention, everything shot in Canada was using the beta version of the firmware, so the prototype. There's some weird blurriness in spots for the 360 stitching together and some jitters here and there. The firmware has improved since then, so it looks a lot cleaner, but still the 360 is stable when you choose where you want to film. So it kind of pushes me to default just to using 360 all the time, because at least when the drone's going haywire doing backflips, you get consistently stable video in every direction, and you can just choose the parts you want. That makes me say that this drone is for a specific person. You're filming wacky crazy, flying all over the place, cutting hard corners, like chasing people behind a dirt bike. You're pretty athletic for a skinny guy and you wear a lot of Fox clothing. This is ideal for you. That is a person who wants something that isn't going to break immediately because they don't know what they're doing or it's too complicated to get into. That's like normal FPV where you mount a GoPro on just a rocket engine and just take off and you hit a wall 100 miles an hour, but that's part of it. Takes a lot of know-how. This is a happy medium where you can dodge, duck, dive, dip, dodge, whatever, but it's accessible to the average person and you don't have to like learn too much about FPV. You do need to practice with this though, to kind of get a feel for like how fast you can turn, how close you can get to things. I think normal people will be able to pick this up pretty quickly though. You don't get it right away, but once you do, you're like, oh, okay, I've got the hang of this. So practice a couple times and then you can start getting cool footage like very quickly. But that is for a person who's not interested at all in photos or video. Even just for okay quality of photos, it's kind of limping to get by, you know, like you can get 360 stuff. Obviously this is the king of every direction, but if you're trying to get real estate photos, anything else outside of like very bare minimum photography wise, no. It's not that it can't do those things, it's not that it can't film steady footage and it can't get photos, it's just that's not what it's built for, so you're not going to get the best experience with those, and it's kind of limping along as far as photos. It's like a GoPro that flies, you know, it's built for one thing, that it does one thing really cool. Fisheye stuff, zoomed out, is extremely good, but when you find yourself wanting to crop in, then you feel the difference. Obviously, steady camera stuff, it's not made for that. On the opposite side of the spectrum, if you're filming anything live where you only get one chance, obviously this is just an extremely good answer. You can get multiple shots from one drone in multiple directions. If you're flying directly overhead of a dark of a bunch of people racing on dirt bikes and you want to go use footage from either side afterwards, you can totally do that. I mean, it looks good, or at least it looks good enough that nobody's going to stop and be like, oh, the quality is, you know, took such a hit, they shouldn't have cropped in. Nobody will really notice, and you can get away with it. So it gives you a lot of variety. The workflow is what I want to talk about. Imagine you have all this 360 footage. You now have to take that into DJI Studio, which is their software to deal with this, and it's free, which is cool. But you have to go through all your footage, pick the angles, pick the shots, decide where you want to crop in. You have the option here, if you filmed in D-Log or D-Log M, you can add a DJI LUT, and it's already built in, which I find really cool that they added that for you. But once you decide that, you've got to export, and then wherever you want to use that footage, you can. But that just feels a little clunky to me because I want to be able to edit this in my editor, but going to DJI Studio and then sending it somewhere else adds another step. I think it's just kind of the workflow of this technology. You know, it's not really DJI's fault. That's just kind of how it is when you're working with this stuff. So they give you a ton of options in the software, as much control as you can have over this. You're just going to have to get comfortable using it pretty quickly. It's really easy to add keyframes and to follow stuff. I mean, it's so like you could be brain dead and get through this just fine. So I know it's not super scary software to have to learn, but I do really like that they have smart tracking. So you just kind of pick the thing you want to aim at and press track, and it'll run through and do the whole thing for you. Right now in the action camera market, if you want to get a drone, this is your best option for 360 stuff. With 360 footage, a really nice breath of fresh air is that when something live is happening, like a dirt bike race, something you can only get one shot of, this is very reassuring that all you have to do is think about the drone. Just press record and then look at the drone, and that's the only thing you have to worry about. So you can get way closer than you normally would if you had to look at the drone and the screen at the same time back and forth. And if this is just for fun or to screw around, having 360-degree footage is really freaking cool. Like, I've had so much fun in the software, zooming in on stuff, looking for like a frog on a leaf and stuff like that. So it is really, really cool. It's really fun. I'm just thinking at volume, you know, when you have to go through this footage. For the action camera guy, I don't really see Insta360 coming close in quality. Cool that they came out with it soonest. And it's cool that they were the first on the market with something new, which I have to give them credit for. Always nice to see another company try something new, so we've got to hand it to them for that. Quality-wise, no, I would still pick DJI. Almost everything I've shown you has been done with the smart controller, by the way, so I'm not even using the goggles. You can skip this whole thing if you don't care about it at all, but I want to talk about DJI's event to launch this. This is the coolest thing I've done in a really long time as far as drones are involved, like for my career. They didn't tell us what this was for. Like a week before, they just said, come to Canada and get your license to fly there, and we're going to pay for everything. At first, I thought it was way too good to be true that DJI would fly me out business class, and it was. They just flew me out coach. When I showed up, surprise, it's those other guys you see here and there making drone stuff for YouTube. Double surprise, get in the van, put the bag on your head. We're driving to Whistler, and we're gonna stay in a super expensive resort for rich people, and you're on your own floor where you each get a fireplace in your room, unlimited cream puffs. Also, everybody gets a new Avata 360 4 months before launch, and tomorrow, you're all going snowmobiling, like we're on Oprah. So instead of whatever marketing budget they were going to spend on ads or whatever they were going to do for like the launch of this drone, they decided to invite us out and do something so cool that you would not shut up about it. You would have to tell everybody about it. And it's for like 3 days. What else is going to happen when 20 drone people are in the middle of the wilderness for like 3 days with a brand new drone, other than go screw around, go joust with these things, other than go screw around, go joust with these drones and get footage in this beautiful scenery? So we had a ton of wilderness to go out and shoot in, which was so much fun, so cool. The problem is it snowed, and it wasn't like, you know, fluffy snowflakes. It was like kind of sludgy, partially melted snow. So it was like ideal worst situation to be in, and I felt really bad for them for flying us all out to do this because it was expensive. These rooms were really nice. I know the intentions were good, but it's just warm enough that the snow is like melting slightly. So as soon as it lands on the drone, it's water, and this is like becoming a huge issue. So, but while we were in the lobby waiting around, I don't want to say a lot of people, but some of the people there were kind of like, so do you think this event, like, do we have to be here for the full 3 days? Because I want to like get back to work. And I'm like, this is like the coolest thing I've ever done. Like for drones, I'm not going anywhere, man. Are you kidding me? I'm staying right here. It's kind of like, how often do you get to talk to other people who, one, have also been guinea pigs for DJI's prototypes, or two, just happen to have YouTube channels in general. I never get to talk to people that also do what I do. I talk to a lot of drone operators, but not a lot of other guys making YouTube videos. People who have to try and figure out how to go in the wilderness and film yourself and film with a drone at the same time and make it clear. Of course, I'm like tickled to be there. Pretty much none of my footage that I shot in Canada was using the headset. I was just using the smart controller. The headset is how you can go fast and lean into turns, and that footage I think is exceptional when you're using a fisheye lens like this. If this is for work and it's your second drone, you could easily sell this footage to anything that's races or on the water or action sports in your city, shots over crowds at concerts, any mountain biking events. But one, you have to have footage good enough to convince them it's worth paying for. So you do need to practice with this a little bit, and you need to make sure the color looks great when you edit this footage. Like, you need to inspire them to want to pay you. You can't just have any old footage off of this thing. The Avata 360 just makes it easier because you don't have to aim while you're doing this. So go build a reel as fast as you can if you're looking for this kind of work. 2, just nail the color, because it makes a really big difference with this kind of stuff. Pretty much all the viral footage you see of people with traditional FPV drones, like diving down a cliff, like at the beach in Iceland or something, they're color grading the footage. They're making it look a little bit better. So you do kind of need to know how to do that. So anybody who gets their eyes on it will be impressed and will share it or remember you. Then you get people who will ask you to like come film. It makes a big difference, and it makes marketing so much easier when you have something so good you don't have to say anything when you send it. So like, go back and film again if you have to on a better day with a better sunset. Because if you have to hand over your footage to somebody in a reel and give a disclaimer, oh sorry it was cloudy, like, oh, you know, typically it'll look better than that, I don't know why, that's all the footage I have. You don't want to be in this position. Just have great examples ahead of time, and I think you could get a lot of work doing events in your city. Is this your first drone? It isn't so difficult that you can't just kind of figure it out after screwing around with it for a little bit and, like, you know, get muscle memory and understand how it works. But I think you can do more, and there's a better avenue, and it's easier for hobbyists just all around with a normal drone, and I think you should get a Mini 5 Pro instead. There are multiple other avenues you can take it for making your money back if you have a drone like this with a 3-axis gimbal on it, and also a 1-inch sensor. That helps too. If you're just doing flips with your drone for fun and just like kind of screwing around and this is a toy, you're gonna have a great time with the Avata 360. You won't fly it as often, and you're not gonna spend as much time with it or learning it, because it really is like a big rush and then you kind of get your fill, but you will have a way better time, and the footage is really awesome if it's anything with something in front of it like action sports. If you really want all those turns and dives and spins and whatnot, then this is the way to go, and you don't have to worry about it cracking as soon as you make a mistake. And it is such peace of mind knowing that you just have to look at the drone and just go there and then decide what you want it to look at and focus on in the video later. That's the end.